Hey everyone, my name is Chris Ascione, and today I'll be explaining to you all about why I believe sports betting should be illegal in America. Let's first get into the topic of what sports betting is. Sports betting is essentially a form of gambling in which an individual wagers a certain amount of their money on a particular sporting event. The sporting event could be a winner of a game or even how a player performs throughout this game. The way individuals can bet on sports is through what is called sports books. These sportsbooks are establishments that take the bets made on sporting events and either keeps the wagered money or pays out the individual depending on the outcome of the bet itself. A user can essentially log onto their account on sportsbooks and place as many wagers as they want on a numerous amount of sports. In terms of sportsbooks themselves, there are many different sportsbooks here in America. DraftKings and FanDuel seem to be the two most popular. The sports betting industry seems to be a complicated topic but is simple when broken down into parts. In terms of history, sports betting has been around for centuries, but the practice didn't start to take off until the late 1800s when horse racing was the face of sports in America. Horse racing was the main sport that the public would view for a few decades up until the 1920s, as with the 20s came boxing and baseball. Even though sports betting was gaining in popularity in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, sports betting was still deemed to be illegal in America. According to LegalSportsBetting.com, sports betting was first legalized in 1931 when Nevada was the first state to pass the practice as legal. It wasn't for decades later until more states started to legalize the practice, as next came Delaware and Oregon in the 1970s. Nowadays, sports betting is legal in over 30 states in America and is thriving. In fact, according to APSportsEditors.org, within the last 4 years alone, the market for sports betting has grown by an estimated amount of $144 billion. FanDuel and DraftKings, the popular sportsbooks I had mentioned before, have both become billion-dollar companies. And yes, I said billion. Sports betting has evolved such a great deal that it has become one of the most successful industries in the world. The industry itself has skyrocketed within the past few years, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping. Now, with the complications of sports betting. Simply, I believe that the country should turn back the clock and make sports betting illegal once again. Society has created a huge controversy with the industry, with arguments being made about the status of sports betting itself. The dispute between whether or not this practice should be legal has been ongoing for years and probably years to come. The industry carries both positive and negative effects that factor into the public controversy, but nowadays it seems as if the negative components have become more apparent. There are reasons why some states still have not legalized the practice. These reasons involve the risks that come with the industry. Essentially, sports betting should be illegal simply because of its high risk and direct links to addictions, illegal and underground gambling, and match fixing. Now, getting into problem gambling. The first and main problem with sports betting is how it's directly correlated to problem gambling. Let's start with the basics. According to NHSinform.com, problem gambling is defined as a disruptive or damaging practice to an individual or their family. Problem gambling is when a gambler falls into a hole and struggles to come out. Individuals can have a loss of impulse control, chasing the feeling of a win, losing more than just money. Sports betting is known as the gateway drug to other illnesses and addictions. Sports betting can induce other problems such as alcoholism and depression. A gambling addiction doesn't only affect the individuals themselves, but also everyone around them, taking over their lives. According to the U.S. News, over 48% of adults have an interest within sports betting. And with the addictive properties of the practice, even just a slight interest can lead to problems for an individual. What is damaging for the industry is also how problem gambling is a much bigger issue than the media advertises. The National Council on Problem Gambling has released a statement of how 2 million adults in the U.S. meet severe gambling criteria each year. For your yearly statistic, that number of addictions doesn't seem real. So what's been done to help fix this problem? You would think that sportsbooks and the government would take steps to help people in need and stop this problem from escalating, right? Wrong. There's been minimal actions to help put an end to problem gambling. Rehab centers and charitable donations seem to be the only solution that has been thought of. Overall, addiction has become the biggest problem with the sports betting industry, and there has been minimal measures taken to help put a stop to the growth of the problem itself. Moving on from addictions, illegal betting has started to become a dangerous and threatening problem for sports betting itself. With the practice gaining popularity, underground ways of gambling have become present. States and areas in which sports betting is illegal seemingly have a direct link between sports betting and crime. This is all due to the concept of illegal and underground betting. According to ABC News, underground betting website search rates were up an estimated 38% last year. And with the main stakeholders for sports betting being between the ages of 16 to 34, residents not only in illegal states but also people under the legal age limit are finding secluded ways to bet on sports. The ways that these people are betting on sports are through illegal betting websites and sportsbooks. Described by UNODC.org, these illegal sites are essentially unlicensed sites and, by definition, organized criminal groups. These sites are dangerous to individuals that use them, as they can possibly be stealing personal information and money in general. The underground sportsbooks have become a serious problem as they pose a threat to the industry itself. You may be wondering, wouldn't a solution to this problem be to legalize sports betting everywhere or even lower the legal gambling age? But sadly, it would only create more problems for individuals. More people would simply be put at risk for addiction at a younger age, and there's also a possibility in which new and existing problems will become more relevant within the industry. Essentially, illegal betting has become a seemingly unsolvable issue for sports betting, with many individuals getting scammed from these criminal ran sites. Now, how about match fixing? Besides underground sports betting, the industry has also been involved with other criminal activity, match fixing, for example. There seems to be a direct correlation between sports betting and rigged games for professional sports leagues and games. For example, GBC Time News has shared how in Ukraine, about 50 cases of match fixing were revealed in January 2018. This number is recorded just from 1 year within Ukraine, and imagine how many games have been fixed since the beginning of the industry itself. Many individuals believe that match fixing happens within the US as well. While no one truly knows how often it happens, whether it's a common or rare occurrence, the public has speculated that American sports leagues have fixed games for years. Many professional leagues nowadays have partnerships with different sportsbooks in terms of advertisements and promotions, which can create suspicions of behind-the-scene activity. There is also already history within American professional sports leagues fixing matches. Within the early 2010s, the NBA was proved to have held fixed games. These games were rigged by the people officiating the games themselves. Referee Tim Donaghy was involved with legal trouble due to officiating games for certain NBA teams to win. He was fixing these games for his friends to win money through sports betting itself. According to Bleacher Report, Donaghy was called a game in favor of one team over the other in 13% of his games. 13% is a big number considering the amount of games that he actually officiated. With other cases in sports history being similar to Donaghy's, it wouldn't be surprising for match fixing to still be present today. Overall, within the concept of match fixing, the realization of how professional games can be rigged has risen. And whether it's through the leagues themselves or the officials, the public has become aware of this issue. Now, what are the solutions to these problems? With the industry avoiding these issues, there must be an answer to these problems. With how substantial these problems have become, a possible solution for the industry would be to slowly eliminate the practice in general. Making sports betting illegal would seem to solve the problems of addictions and match fixing, but what about the underground sports books? A possible fix to this problem is the loss of interest within the industry itself. A hard task to accomplish, especially with the industry on the rise, but eliminating advertisements involved with sports betting could be a good start. With advertisements holding the power of drawing attention to the industry, the action of prohibiting the ads will make people begin to lose interest. Advertisements for sports betting are everywhere in sports. They are in games, on fields, and viewers can't get away from them. According to WUSF News, on average, following the airing of a gambling advertisement, the number of Google searches for sportsbooks increases by an estimated amount of 18%. Prohibiting ads for the industry would slowly but surely decrease the interest within the practice itself. Television networks, social media accounts, and sports themselves would all hold the power of banning sports betting ads altogether. Within a few years, sports betting interest will drop by a significant amount, and the loss of interest will eventually lead to illegalization of sports betting, stopping the problems caused by the industry in general. Now, we move on to how to participate. A small but effective start to the solution is through the public themselves. People can go to social media, posting the idea of eliminating ads, and with more attention being brought to the idea, the chance of a reality increases. Locally, the public can also start to make the practice illegal by getting involved with the active legislation at courthouses around the country. The legislations and debates to legalize sports betting are appearing within states that currently have the practice illegal. Just this past year, within Columbia, South Carolina, the legislation for the legalization of sports betting was voted on, with the vote ending in favor of keeping the concept illegal. Once the vote comes around again within the near future, the public can help keep sports betting illegal with voting in this favor. Simply, problems within the sports betting industry can be solved with long and complicated processes. The way to change what is happening within the sports betting industry today is not to attack the problems head on, but rather take an indirect path. Now, for summarizing why sports betting should be illegal. With the knowledge of the main issues of sports betting, it is clear that the risks and costs outweigh the positives of the practice. Seemingly, the stakeholders affected positively by the practice are companies and the government, as the only benefits of the practice seem to be involved with companies bringing in revenue. Sports betting is a moneymaker for these companies, and the public is being used for their money. After a recent study done by Odds Matrix News, it was found that with just the past year, Americans have wagered more than $65 billion on sports. Now, how much of that money do you think has been lost? Sports betting has caused many people to develop illnesses and be involved with criminal activity, and the industry seems rigged and unfair to its participants, as individuals are risking more than just their money. To conclude, I encourage you to do your own research about sports betting in general, forming your own opinion. This will keep you informed about the industry and allow you to see the truth about sports betting. The whole reason why sports betting should be criminalized once again is due to the problems that it causes for its users.